Have you ever considered who controls the water that gives life to millions across South Asia? Could one nation really turn water into a weapon to terrorize and dominate its neighbors? Though Chinese-administered Tibet is the upstream for all, but for decades India has misused its geographic advantage to monopolize South Asia's lifelines, its rivers, emerging as the region's prime water terrorist. This isn't rhetoric. It is a painful reality supported by evidence and historical incidents. In 1948, India unilaterally stopped the water flowing into Pakistan's canals, devastating agriculture and nearly sparking war. Forced negotiations led to the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty allocating rivers but leaving India room to manipulate flows. India's later construction of the Baglihar Dam exposed these manipulations starkly. In 2008, violating the treaty, India rapidly filled Baglihar Reservoir, reducing Pakistan's water from the Chenab River from 55,000 cubic feet per second to 10,700, devastating 13 million acres of farmland. India's Kishan-Ganga project further highlights its aggressive designs, diverting waters from Pakistan's Neelam River, diminishing Pakistan's hydropower generation significantly. Plans for the massive Barrage dam threaten even more catastrophic control, enabling India to choke water flow entirely at will. But Pakistan isn't India's sole victim. Consider Bangladesh. The Farakka Barrage, built in 1975, has caused severe dry season droughts by diverting Ganges water. Bangladesh's vital river flow reduced by almost 50%, damaging agriculture and turning fertile lands into deserts. Bangladesh complains that India frequently violates even its 1996 treaty obligations, withholding critical water flows and devastating millions downstream. The unresolved Teesta River dispute underscores India's arrogance, denying Bangladesh fair water sharing despite repeated promises. And what about Nepal? Treaties signed in the 1950s over the Kosi and Gandak rivers blatantly favored India, giving it control over Nepali rivers and lands, leaving Nepal vulnerable to devastating floods. In 2020, Indian-built embankments along border rivers trapped floodwaters, submerging Nepali villages and forcing countless families from their homes. When Nepal protests, India ignores, continuing its unilateral policies without regard for human suffering. Bhutan, a seemingly cooperative partner, also faces subtle Indian dominance. India finances and controls Bhutan's hydropower projects, making Bhutan economically dependent and unable to freely manage its water resources. Bhutan's water and economic security are effectively in India's grip. Ironically, India itself feels threatened downstream by China's upstream Brahmaputra developments, demanding equitable sharing and transparency. Yet India dismisses these same concerns from its downstream neighbors, showcasing blatant hypocrisy. India rejects international norms like the UN Watercourses Convention that demand fair and equitable water sharing, precisely because these laws curb India's water terrorism. These facts clearly establish India's systematic regional dominance through water manipulation, violating international law, including the no significant harm principle essential for peaceful coexistence. India's consistent refusal to cooperate or share timely project details, such as the Barrage Dam's design, leaves downstream nations vulnerable and distrustful. Why does this matter? Because water terrorism isn't just about resources, it's about survival, dignity, and regional peace. India's actions push millions in Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal toward poverty and environmental crisis, intensifying regional tensions and mistrust. Pakistan, heavily reliant on the Indus Basin, sees India's water tactics as existential threats that could provoke severe conflicts. Will international bodies finally hold India accountable for its water terrorism? Or will the world allow millions to suffer under India's unchecked regional hegemony? Water is life, yet India wields it as a weapon, terrorizing neighbors to cement its power. For South Asia to thrive, water must unite rather than divide. But until India abandons its hegemonic ambitions, peace and stability will remain elusive. The world must recognize and challenge India's water terrorism now, before it becomes too late. Will global leaders act or continue to watch silently as water becomes the catalyst for inevitable conflict? This is Amara Farad Baloch and you are watching Nexus Bulletin.